All right, so let's move along now to insights. Let's hit on some of the insights that Next Gen Stats has come up with here on NFL Pro. First insight over here to the left, and I'll just keep this screen up. I'll read it for y'all. Jordan Love had an average time to throw of 3.08 seconds in Week 4 against the Vikings, his longest since Week 4 of last season. So the pass protection really held up well for Jordan last week. It said Love has completed just 46.3%, being 25 of 54 of his pass attempts, 2.5 seconds or more after the snap this season, fourth lowest in the NFL, totaling 442 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception, a 39.3% success rate. In weeks 2 and 3, Malik Willis had an average time to throw of 2.31 seconds, second quickest in the NFL. Matchup. The Rams have allowed a 50% defensive success rate on dropbacks over 2.5 seconds this season, second highest in the NFL. So probably going to be looking for Jordan to get to his second and third read here. I think Jaden Reed's got an opportunity to have a big game against this young secondary, this banged-up secondary too here with the Rams. So next insight, Kyron Williams saw a lot box on a league-high 60.1% of his carries in last year's breakout season, minimum of 80 carries in parentheses there. But that light box rate has dropped to 54.8% this season. So last year, light box meaning less than 8 in the box, right? You basically got a +1 hat count or at least a match hat count in the box. Last year, 60% of the time. This year, it dropped to 54% of the time. It says Kyron Williams has generated minus 34 rushing yards over expected against such boxes in 2024, the second fewest in the NFL. So when they load the box, Kyron Williams struggles, all right? That might be why we're seeing more stretch plays for the explosives. They're trying to get away from that loaded box. That makes all the sense in the world, right? So says the Packers have utilized a lot box on 57.4% of opposing runs this season, sixth highest in the league, while allowing 302 yards on 58 carries, including plus 53 rushing yards over expected. That's sixth most in the league. What's that tell you? Load the box. Even if you bail out on passing plays, load the box. You might want to play this from under to over. And what I mean by that is when you're showing that shell coverage and you're not loading the box, when you run that play action, those backers really bite up and you can hit the mid-level. That's what you're seeing a lot from our boy Matthew Stafford. And really with Atwell, Tutu Atwell, who's become kind of his go-to receiver with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua out. Let me drop this down real quick and show y'all what I'm talking about. Let me hit this real quick. We're going to go back to the tape real quick. If I can get it to pull up. Here we go. All right. Let's see if we can get this to pull up for y'all. So let's go to Tutu Atwell snaps real quick and show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me get this to pause. Man, I got this internet cranking over here tonight. Let me tell you. Let me try to get a little closer for y'all. Here we go. All right. So first play that we got on tap here, Matt Stafford. This is against the Bears. Is a deep pass, a pass deep right to Atwell to Chicago's 40 for 18 yards. Okay, there was a penalty, unnecessary roughness. Obviously, it doesn't affect the play. This is one of those out routes. They like to use Atwell as these other receivers out. I'm pretty sure he's their cheat motion guy, if I remember correctly. So here we go. There's Atwell, is number 5, going to come across. Probably just going to run a little out route here. See, get that leverage. See, 29 flips his hips. It's over. Beautiful throw by Stafford on the sideline. 18 yards, okay? Next play, we got Matt Stafford going deep middle to Atwell. This is what I'm talking about. Look, they're out of the ace set, nasty splits. Atwell, I believe, is right here. Let's see if they use motion. This is actually an explosive play, 22 yards. Let's see what happens with Atwell. They're going to use cheat motion. He comes across. Now they're going to a twin nasty set. Watch the play action. Look at these backers, guys, especially this one right here. Watch this backer bite up. Play action, backer bit. Look at Atwell. Look at all this space to hammer this dig. So you got to be careful biting down on that play action. Matt Stafford, even though he's stumbling here, he's going to gather his legs together and just hammer that. Look at all that space right here on this dig. So you got to be aware of that. You see they're in kind of a cover 3 look here. A cover 3 zone is what it looks like to me. So the play action opened that play up big time to Atwell. All right, let's go on to the next explosive. This is 25 yards against the Chicago Bears. Matt Stafford, deep left at Tutu Atwell. He runs out of bounds at Chicago's 29. Like I said, 25 yards. Brisker was on the coverage. Again, ace nasty split. You're seeing it here, right? And you see the defenders are playing it outside in. They're playing outside shoulder. Okay, let's see what happens here. See if it's a play action. I can't remember if it was on this play or not. All right, there's Tutu Atwell in motion. Coming over here set. Going to have a twin set over here. Yep, play action. Look at Atwell. There's that out route, opposite side of the field. Ball out on time, beautiful ball. Matt Stafford still got a cannon for an arm, no doubt. 25 yards on that play. What down was that? Does it say? I may be overlooking it. That was a 1st and 10 throw. All these were 1st and 10 throws. So what's that tell you? Play action on 1st and 10. Hit those mid-levels and don't be afraid to attack the sideline is kind of the way Stafford's approaching it. Here we go. Atwell against Chicago for 17 yards. This play, 2nd and 11 play. All right. Looks like Tutu Atwell's down here on the bottom, playing what I would refer to as Z. See if there's motion. There is. So he's going to do a cheat motion over to twin. So they love going cheat to twin. Play action. Where's Atwell? Same play. Look at that dig, right? Right over the backer underneath the safety. Let's go back and see if they bite on play fake. Watch this backer right here, guys. Again, they're in zone. No one follows, okay? Play action. Nope, he actually faded out to the left too far. He had a little bit of almost like a little spy underneath or something. So, yeah, this guy right here, boy, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He is covering air, no doubt about it. So Atwell, obviously, another dig. Digs and outs. That's what you put in your game plan if you're Jeff Hafley, right? You got to come out, say, all right, Atwell is kind of one of their leading receivers right now with Kupp and Nakua being out. Let's make sure that we're covering outs and digs. How do we put ourselves in an advantageous situation with the defensive call to make sure the outs and the digs are covered when it comes to Atwell? Make them play left-handed. Doesn't mean that Stafford can't beat you other ways. We know he can. He's been in the league for a very, very long time, right? So you just got to try to make him play left-handed. Make him go to the receiver that maybe they're not as excited about going to. That should be the goal there. So, again, that was just talking about Kyren Williams. Got to load the box. The numbers suggest you should load the box for Kyren Williams. Now, if you're going to load the box and they run play action, if you're already loading the box, why not blitz a little bit, right? Why not try to muddy that water? We talked about Matt Stafford struggling with pressure, but with a clean pocket, he's like 105 is his QB rate. Might be a good blitz-heavy day here. And you're not going to have all these experienced wide receivers that can go hot for you and be on the same page with Stafford if you find yourself in trouble with a bad blitz look. You know, like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. They literally, I remember watching a little football breakdown of Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp and the chemistry they have. And he said that he reads Cooper Kupp's shoulder pads. Cooper Kupp tells him in the way he dips his shoulder or moves his shoulder a certain way, he's actually sending a signal to Matt Stafford that he's going to break that route off. That is wild to think about. That a player can be that good of an athlete, focus on his assignment and everything, and still know, all right, if I find myself in a situation here where let's say this backer fires and I notice outside technique from the boundary corner, I'm going to, if you see me throw my shoulder a certain way, I'm going to break it in. Or if I dip it, it's just wild to think about. At first I said BS, and you turn on the tape and you see, you're like, man, they really are on the same page. This was obviously a couple years ago's tape with Cooper Kupp. That's his go-to guy, and him being out of this game is going to help a lot. That's why I feel like let's really, really key in on the running game. Let's stop it, man. That should be the overall focus there. So, all right, Jordan Love, here's another insight. Let me go full screen. Maybe y'all can see it a little bit better. So this insight says Love is one of two quarterbacks with at least 10 deep attempts to record a completion percentage of at least 50% on such attempts this season. Love 50%. Darnold was 60%. All right, it says matchup. The Rams have allowed a league-high 5 deep touchdown passes this season and have allowed the most EPA in the NFL on those attempts, plus 23.2 passing EPA. What's that tell you, guys? Let's get vertical. How do we get vertical? Dagger concept, right? Basically, the one running a dig off the backside of the two running a go route. You can throw in that dagger concept. I would like to see trips right and go dagger with that slot cross, which what we would refer to as it would be slot go, slot cross. Probably would be F go slot cross. If you go Trey, why go slot cross? That way you're accomplishing two different passing concepts on one specific play. You can attack deep with the dagger. You've got 4 windows of entry with the pass on the crosser, and you've got the backside dig with 2 windows of opportunity. I say bunch it up like that, go trips and Trey right, and stretch the field vertically. And I know we're missing Christian Watson. He's kind of our deep threat. Jaden Reed is as good as anyone at that 9 fade. So you could see where we kind of use that slot fade. We've used it with the Haas concept. You might be able to do it with dagger slot fade and accomplish the same thing there. So just keep that in mind this week, that the Rams are struggling with the deep pass coverage for sure. Rams defense says the Rams have generated pressure on a league high 41.3% of dropbacks this season, but have converted just 14% of those pressures into sacks, the 5th lowest pressure to sack conversion rate in the NFL. So they're getting pressure, but they're not able to hit the sacks as often as they should, 4th worst in the league. So keep that in mind. The fact that they don't have the horses on the backside in the secondary, they're obviously trying to generate a lot of pressure through the blitz packages. So got to be on the same page with your receivers. It sucks that Dobby's probably going to be out and Watson's going to be out, but I feel like Tay Wicks and Jaden Reed are on enough of a page with Jordan. You got to know where your hots are. Setting the protection is going to be huge in this game, because what that tells me is, as long as you're organized and setting your protection and being on the same page with Josh Myers, as well as your hots, Tucker's got enough chemistry with Jordan to go hot as well, then you're going to be able to burn them in these blitz plays, and don't be afraid to test them deep, because their defensive backs are struggling bad with the deep passing game. So just another insight. Next insight, Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed has recorded 330 of his 336 receiving yards against zone coverage this season, the 2nd most in the NFL behind Nico Collins. All right, let me do this. That's interesting. So Jaden Reed is lighting up zone coverage. All right, let's go to coverages through week 4. Where are the Rams at? How much zone are they running this year, gang? That's what we're looking for. They're toward the bottom there. Cover 3 zone, 39% of the time they're in cover 3 zone. 18% of the time they're in cover 6 zone. All right. And then 11% of the time they're in cover 4 zone. 10% of the time they're in cover 2. They are a zone heavy defense. They run man coverage only 20% of the time. All right. So with that being said, if you got Jaden Reed on your fantasy team, probably the week to give Jaden the start. So keep that in mind. He is absolutely torching zone defense this year. Braden Fisk, you guys remember him in the draft process, right? I'm eager to see where I had him as a defensive lineman. I know I wasn't as high as most on him. Braden Fisk was 6th best interior defensive line on my draft board this year. It says Braden Fisk has generated 14 pressures through the first 4 games of the season, tied for the 2nd most by a rookie defensive tackle since 2018. And that was Osa, I ain't even going to try to say it, in 2021. It says Jalen Carter generated 21 pressures in weeks 1 through 4 last season. So when you're getting compared to Jalen Carter as a rookie interior defensive lineman, you're doing something right. That's probably one of those Tuesday players you're going to have to key in on. How do we make sure Braden Fisk doesn't wreck our offensive game plan, especially our drop back games? So keep that in mind. That's a really interesting stat there for sure. Next insight, Jaden Reed again. Packers have averaged twice as many yards per play with Jaden Reed on the field this season, 8.6 versus 4.3. You want to talk about a playmaker, a dog, a difference maker, a Tuesday player. I'm going to read that again. When Jaden Reed's on the field, guys, the Packers offense averages 8.6 yards per play. When he's not on the field, they only average 4.3. That is wild. That dude is just a stud. Kudos, Goody, drafting that guy. While also achieving 46.9% success rate, 16.9% higher than their success rate with him off the field. That's a huge jump too. Success rate jumps from 16.9% with him off the field all the way to 46.9%. It'll be a big Jaden Reed game. Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford completed 11 of his 13 play-action passes for 154 yards in Week 4. We just showed you that on the tape. That's everything that's popping off the tape with Tutu Atwell, no doubt. and now has 318 passing yards off of play action this season. That's fourth highest in the NFL. Going to be a bunch of play action opportunities for him. And again, when you load the box, you got to make sure you can get back. When I mean play under up as opposed to from top down, load the box and tell those guys, don't be afraid to guess pass when you think there might be a play action opportunity. You might be able to sugar Matt Stafford into making some mistakes. If you're doing those deep drops, keep in mind those dig routes and let those corners know, yes, you want to be aware of the double moves, but Atwell likes to hit the outs and he likes to hit the digs. That seems to be the go-to playoff play action. Tucker Kraft. There's a bunch of insights. This is really cool. Tucker Kraft saw a career-high 9 targets in Week 4 against the Vikings, hauling in 6 of them for 53 yards and a touchdown. Kraft has solidified himself as the starting tight end for Green Bay this season, playing on 81.4% of the offensive snaps compared to just 39.5% for Luke Musgrave. As we mentioned, Musgrave's banged up this week, though. Let's see. After using 12 personnel on 32.9% of the snaps last season, that was third most. Some charts had them as using it the most, so that's interesting there. Usually top 3, top 5, you're splitting hairs. But the Packers have dropped their 12 usage to 24.4% in 2024, 15th most. Matchup. The Rams defense has allowed 72.2% success rate on targets to tight ends this season, the lowest in the NFL. So, might be a Tucker Kraft day. So, what you're seeing on the surface, Watson out, Dobbs out. Now, they get paid too. They're going to be looking to try to shut down Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft probably going to be 2 players really, really involved in this game plan this week. That's exciting to hear. Matt Stafford and the Packers defense says Stafford has completed 69 of his 101 pass attempts for 754 yards. That's 4th in the NFL when opposing defenses don't blitz, but also surrendered a 9% sack rate on such dropbacks, 4th highest in the league. So it's boom or bust there, man, when it comes to that. So when they don't blitz, that's interesting. Now I really don't know what to make of that. It could be good or it could be bad. Run blitzing seems like the way to go here, though. It really does, just to try to stop Kyron Williams, keep him in check. Dontavion Wicks played a season-high 75.7% of the offensive snaps in Week 4 against the Vikings. Wicks primarily played out wide in place of the injured Christian Watson, with 66.1% of his snaps coming as the outside receiver. Wicks led the team with 13 targets, including a 30.2% target rate, catching 5 for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the number not mentioned there are the drops. If he doesn't drop those other passes, guys, we may be talking about a career day for Tay Wicks. Tay Wicks, it sounds like Watson and Dobbs are out. Tay Wicks is going to be that outside receiver, right? So you're going to have Tay Wicks on the outside. Jaden's going to play F. Bo and Malik Heath will probably split those Z spots. So I need to go back and watch the tape and see if Tay Wicks was predominantly the boundary X. I can't imagine he was. No, Watson's been playing a lot of Z. So, yeah, it looks like Dontavion Wicks will probably be your Z unless they decide to move him to X. Now, here's the thing. His skill set, when it comes to playing boundary X typically gets you more one-on-one matchups. And his route running ability would suggest, hey, that's the way to go. The other thing, though, is boundary X sometimes playing within a phone booth. Got to have strong hands to make those plays. Rome's typically does. We've seen Tay Wicks has some drop issues last week, so kind of yin and yang there, give and take. So Kyron Williams has rushed for just 258 yards on 73 carries this season, generating minus 43 rush yards over expected, 5th fewest in the NFL. So you're seeing a good grade from Kyron Williams. I showed you some of the explosives, but rushing yards over expected, he's not really doing anything. It sounds like when he does hit on his plays, he's hitting on plays that are actually there. He's not really making chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what, right? So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Again, I think the key is loading that box on him without hindering yourself too much against Matt Stafford. All right, so here's Rashawn Gary. Obviously, he's been the big talk. He's having a really, really down year so far. Rashawn Gary has generated just 11 pressures on 96 pass rushes this season, 11.5% pressure rate after generating an 18% pressure rate across 2022 and 2023. Gary's average get-off speed has notably increased from 0.87 seconds in 2023 to 0.96 seconds this season. All right. Now, immediately, a couple things come to mind here with Gary. Is it the ACL? Is this going to be the new Gary? Is he slower after the ACL? The problem is in 2023, he had a 0.87. So he was faster last year off the snap than he is this year. And he was closer to the ACL tear last year than he is this year, obviously. So what's that suggest, guys? One of two things. Either he's starting to decline physically and he's not as quick as he used to be, or there's something schematically that they're asking him to do, like, hey, look, let's be more aware rather than just pinning our ears back and going. You guys know what side of the fence I'm sitting on there personally. It doesn't mean I'm right and anyone else is wrong, but that really sticks out to me, that and the fact that the rest of the pass rush has been really, really bad. If it was one player, if it was just Gary, I'd go, man, yeah, Gary might be tapering off here a little bit. But the fact that everybody across the line, I kind of explained the interior defensive line and some of the run stunting. Preston, what can you expect from Preston? He's taking a pay cut the last 2 years and he's getting older, right? LVN, you got to see him. He's going to have to come on strong, man. That's a first round pick. This is year 2, man. It's time to put your big boy pants on. And the reality is, let's talk about Goody drafting in the first round for a second. I know the Goody lovers are going to hate me for this, but let's just talk about it. Let's have a conversation, okay? I can't remember if he drafted Savage or not, but regardless, Goody on the staff, Goody was kind of in that – he was in that makeshift role of stepping in for Ted. He was the lead scout. He was the guy that Mark Murphy mentioned. When they looked at all the past scouting reports, Goody killed everybody else in the building. I mean, absolutely crushed them, right? But Savage, I think we'd all agree, was a miss. Kevin King, even before that, I'm pretty sure that was a miss, right? Then you step up to, let's look at the other first-round picture. I'm trying to think. Rashawn Gary way back in the day, obviously. We won't even mention that. Even in the realm of Goody, might have been more involved with the front office and the draft picks there. Quay Walker, I think we would all agree that's been a miss up to this point. Devontae Wyatt, that's a tough one for me because he's really shown he's going to be an excellent pass rusher. But you guys know in the running game, he's really struggled. PFF's got him graded really, really low. If I have it pulled up here still. Let's see. He's not even on the list because he's hurt. Actually, he was on that injury list earlier, though. Let me pop down. Give me just a second. I won't pull it up, but I'll read it to you. Yeah, Wyatt's grading out 57.8 this year. So I think we would say so far that draft pick hasn't worked out, right? It's a tough go, man. Then you draft LVM. We're in year 2. We're not quite seeing it yet. You're going after these physical freaks, and it's not panning out. You guys, you hear the hesitation in my voice, I'm sure. I don't want to be that dude that says Goody's bad at drafting first-round picks. I don't want to be that guy, but, it's obvious the blueprint is let's take the more physically dominant player. Let's take the athletic freak, right? And it just hasn't panned out. It hasn't. And last year and the year before, it's because Joe Barry's a knucklehead and he's the defensive coordinator. Now we got a new defensive coordinator once again, and it's not panning out. Now you have Mike Pettin before, and some of that stuff wasn't panning out to the point that Matt LaFleur decides to move on from him. How many defensive coordinators are you going to go through? And the argument has always been, you got a ton of talent on this defense. Goody is stocked this full of talent. Just because you're spending first-round picks on defensive players doesn't mean that they're great players, right? It does mean that there's another one. Thank you, Chris. Forgot about Stokes. Stokes, another one, first-round pick, hasn't panned out. I don't want to be the negative dude because Goody's made some great picks. I mean, obviously, I think Jordan is a franchise quarterback. I think that was a good pick. I do. I think it was a great pick. Tucker Kraft coming into his own, right? That was, a third-round pick? That's a great pick. Luke Musgrave, not looking like so much. That was a second-round pick, right? Obviously, Dontavion Wicks, you guys know how I feel about him. You get the hands thing straightened up. He's one of the best at creating separation at the wide receiver position. That was a fifth-round pick, I believe. Romeo Dobbs, a much later-round pick, right? All these guys were talking. I mean, there's some great picks in Zach Tom. Oh, my God. Arguably a top 3 right tackle in the league. I don't even think it's arguable now. But when it comes to first round, why are we missing on these guys? Why are they struggling? The main focus that you're seeing is on the athletic ability. And that's why I have a hard time with it, man. I really do. It's why I was more on Junior Colson. I had him higher on my board, and he may be playing horrible. I haven't really checked. Now, keep in mind, Colson wasn't like a top tier. I had him like a second round talent, right? But I had Junior Colson, then Peyton Wilson, Cedric Gray, then Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper last week graded out in the 20s, right? It's and why did we draft Cooper? You seen it last week when he recovered that fumble. My God, man, that dude is a physical freak. You kidding me? The way he broke on that. I was listening to a pod earlier today. I can't remember who it was. I give him a shout out, but they said if that was Isaiah McDuffie on that play, we don't recover that fumble. Edgerrin Cooper had the physical ability to recover. That's absolutely true. 100. I agree 110%. But why isn't Cooper getting on the field more often, guys? Because they said he doesn't know how to line up. Schematically, he hasn't caught on yet, right? Okay. Well, if you draft him as high as you did in the second round, why did you draft him that high? Because his physical attributes, not necessarily his FBI, right? And college is way different than the pros. You guys know that. You know more about that than me. But just something to kind of think about there, man. But again, with this Gary thing, I don't think this is Gary dropping off with his speed off the line. I do feel like it's schematic. I do, man. That's just me personally. But let's see what Chris C has to say here. I got the chat pulled up while I'm looking at these images now. Is it a crazy take to say some of these guys were better in the 3-4? Are we still adjusting the 4-3? Chris, here's the big thing with the 3-4 and the 4-3. Let me give you a little history lesson on me, okay, and how I really started to dive into the game. I became a Packer fan in 2003, okay. I started to dive into the X's and O's in 2000, and it was roughly 2009. Had a rough year that year. Maybe this helps somebody. Maybe somebody's going through some hard financial times, and that's hearing my voice. 2009, we hit rock bottom, me and my wife. Her company basically had a huge layoff. The company I was working for went belly up because of the economy. And we were basically left. We had just purchased a home, right? And we went from, I won't give the income, but it was a nice income. And we fell flat on our face. We went to a very healthy income to $0 for 6 months. And I won't go through all the details of everything I did to make money and just trying to work 3 jobs and side jobs here or there. And long story short, God's good. And the moral of the story is if you're willing to work, you can get yourself out of anything. Trust me. We were as bad as it got financially. We were about to lose everything we had. Thank God I have an amazing wife. She's just unbelievable. And we were just so supportive of each other. I mentioned that because in 2009, we kind of hit rock bottom. And when we started to pull out of it, I was like, I need something to take my mind. I'm just going to start diving into football, right? And really diving into it. And one of the only things we could afford on our budget was Sirius XM radio. I was like, we'll keep that. I apologize. I'm on dog duty tonight. But I thought we'll keep that. And we had Sirius NFL radio. And I listened to Pat Kerwin's radio show. And it was called I think at the time it's called the Afternoon Blitz, something like that, or the Afternoon Drive. It was a cool little catchy. It was him and Tim Ryan. And he's the one who created the book, Take Your Eye Off the Ball. So I bought that book and I just dove into it. And that's when I really started to break things down, right? And I say all that. I apologize for a long-winded story there. But I say all that. When I started to dive in, we switched to the 34 defense. So I'm like, all right, let's see what this 34 defense is all about, right? And I didn't know anything about the 4-3. I knew nothing about football. I was just in my infancy when it came to learning the X's and O's. And the 34 is designed to be a 2-gap front, 5-man front, and it's harder to run against. That's the whole purpose of it. It's created to do 2 things: stop the run and create the illusion and complexity of fire zone blitzes to make the quarterback have to read post-snap every play. That was the whole purpose of it. It was created by Blitzburg, for the most part, Blitzburg in the 90s. Pittsburgh, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, those guys, those exotic blitzes with those big outside linebackers. And Dick LeBeau obviously carried the torch in Pittsburgh and made it real famous. They won a lot of Super Bowls with that. So you get a lot of predominantly zone defense, and you're firing from different levels. And when you fire, you drop another guy. You guys remember the B.J. Raji pick 6? How can you forget it, right? That's a fire zone blitz. where you're dropping the nose tackle into a short hook zone, and you're bringing pressure from other areas because the quarterback's going to have to constantly think. So, to answer your question, Chris, is it crazy to take? Is it a crazy take to say some of these guys were better in the 34 and are still adjusting the 4-3? I don't think it's a crazy take. I think what people are finding out is that defense wasn't a bad defense. And I tried to point this out in the offseason. Like when people say, yeah, we're going one gap now, we're going to pin our ears, we're going to go out. That's true in your base. But when you're in your nickel, there wasn't a whole lot of two-gapping going on in the nickel last year. It wasn't. LaFleur said it at the podium, right? That's why he scoffed at the media and said, I think y'all are exposing yourselves, thinking we've only got two linemen out there. Our edges, our outside linebackers are basically defensive ends. They're just standing up. We're still doing some of that stand-up this year. So to answer your question, Chris, I think the majority of what they got going on is Hafley's approach to running the defensive fronts. I think he runs a more even though everybody's expecting this one gap, you're in nickel a large majority of the time. So you were already running one gap. I think with the opponents you faced so far, including Aaron Jones last week, with his cutback ability and all that, they've been kind of holding back a touch. Now, you've seen them when they turn the dogs loose in Tennessee. It's funny how the people who are so down on this pass rush, they just write it off and go, well, Tennessee sucks. They're horrible. They're horrible. So, okay, you could say that. But what was the key to them getting pressure on Will Levis? One, you jump out to an early lead. Two, you put them in a passing situation, and now you can get creative and fire some of those zone blitzes. The other thing everybody wanted last year, because I'm tired of saying it, to be honest with you. I feel like I say the same thing every show. But there were people that, Joe Barry's too soft. They're playing too far off. You could see the splits this year, guys. They're playing the same distance off. It's just those people are refusing to admit it this year, right? There's times they play snug, but for the most part, you see the explosive plays. It's coming against cover one man. That's where it's happening. We showed you the interceptions earlier that Joshua Dodge broke down for us from our Chalk Talk segments. Was it 7 of the 8 interceptions are in zone defense? Last week, the play that set the tone, 3rd and 14. And when you go and watch Rashawn Gary's snaps, I really challenge everyone. Stop listening to me. Stop listening to everyone else. Go to NFL Pro and watch Rashawn Gary's snaps. I'm telling you, you won't come away going, he's horrible. You come away going, ball came out pretty quick there. Couldn't get there. Many times he got pressure on the quarterback and caused it wasn't necessarily him getting the pressure, but he was the next man in there. Like I could show you right now. I think I've actually got a couple of those plays. Let's do it real quick. Heck with it. Let me do this and we'll get ready to wrap up. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of some of the stuff that I'm seeing here. And I got Rashawn Gary. It's just a handful of plays because I had a lot of the majority of his plays already geared up. Like here's one right here. I got Gary 1 and Gary 2. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. And let's go end zone cam. Pause it. All right, so here's a look from the game against the Vikings, okay? God, I hate how it resets. So this is Quay Walker's sack. Key in on this sack. Watch Gary. Just watch Gary on this play. And think about what else could he have done on this play. Quay Walker gets the sack. You see they're doing a double A-gap mug. I think they fire Quay and drop McDuffie out, if I remember correctly. Let's roll it here. Okay, watch Gary here off the edge. Think of the time it takes to watch. Here we go, a little motion. So look, they took the chip away, one-on-one matchup against the tackle. Watch him go up against this tackle. This is Darisaw, one of the best left tackles in the game. Punch, pull, rip. First of all, could have been called for a hold, right? I don't know if you guys seen that. We can go slow motion if we want. But watch right here when he pulls. Look at that hold right there. Didn't get called. Forget that. If Quay isn't blitzing, guess who's getting this sack? But Gary forgot how to play football. It's just one example, right? Let's go on to the next one. Here's an incomplete pass to Naylor. Let's try to get the end zone cam here real quick if I can. All right, this one don't have an end zone cam, so we got to really focus. Look out here on the edge. Notice there's no chip, right? You got Gary on the outside. Let's watch this snap. Get him take the edge. Look at this. Beat him like a drum. It's Christian Darisaw. He has to step up. He feels that pressure. Ball comes out, incomplete, almost picked right there. See what I'm saying? That's just a couple of different sets there. If we go out, I think I had a Gary 2 set here. Take another look. All right, so here you got Gary on the outside. Let's see if we can go end zone. Is this the same set? Yeah, it's the same set. What in the world? So did I click on Gary too just a second ago? I may have it duplicated. Let me go 1. Yep, I do. I've got it duplicated. I thought I had some more third down snaps and things, but I don't. So there was another play where Keyshawn Nixon's sack. You guys can go find that release. We hit it on Chalk Talk too. But if you go find that play, Gary runs, they run a TE stunt. And this is multi-layered. The goal is that with the TE, the defensive tackle is going to fan out toward the tackle. Gary loops around. That forces Aaron Jones to plug that A gap where Gary's rushing, and that leaves the free runner for Keyshawn to get the sack, the strip sack. Like it's not as if he's just losing one-on-one battles. And people say, well, you got to go by the win rate. The win rate. Who's grading the win rate? I would love to know what constitutes a win. And the other thing too that's mentioned is this is 2.5 seconds in the pocket. Okay, what about the plays where they get the ball out quicker? What about those one-on-one matchups, right? Again, he's not having his best year. Nobody's saying that. But to pretend like he just all of a sudden forgot how to play football is just it's wild to me. And it reeks of some fans are just not going to be – they're not going to be happy. You know, they're not going to be satisfied, and someone's got to be to blame, right? Like last year, it was Joe Barry for the most part. Joe Barry and Anders Carlson. This year, it's a two-way race between Rashawn Gary and Narveson, right? Jordan gets a pass because he's got the knee, and I understand that. But the reality is the reason you lost that game last week is you threw 3 interceptions and had 1 fumble, all 4 lost. You lost the turnover battle. That's how you lost that game. That, and you got burned for an explosive on the opening drive that really set the tone and allowed them to jump up to an early lead. You're playing from behind all day long. You had also – your top corner was not playing, right? So you had Corey Ballantyne bite on the double move and a cover 3 look. Those things matter way more than whether Gary is getting chipped or not. So that's just my opinion. But anyway, I like the fight that they showed last week. I like our matchup this week, but we can't overlook it. You can't overlook the Rams as if this is just a slam dunk win. You cannot do that, right? So, yeah, hopefully all that makes sense. I know I get to rambling sometimes. Hopefully for those of you on the pod, I'm explaining enough that you get the idea, the visualization. But, yeah, thank you, Chris. So I appreciate that comment, man. Antonio Universe says, Walker is a good Sam/Will backer. Most won't draft a Sam Will backer in the first round. That's kind of a good point, Antonio. If he could play faster as a Will or a Sam, you're right, they won't. They won't. There was one. The Eagles took one. What was his name? I can't remember his name. You guys may know it in the chat. They took that guy that was like, and Michael Lombardi was very vocal, like, hey, look, that's a traditional Sam. Well, this isn't 1996. You're not playing that Sam on the line of scrimmage now. Your Sam has to be prepared to cover the tight end with it being a pass-happy league. So hopefully that makes sense. But, yeah, I could see Walker being better as a Will or a Sam. The issue is, where he's shown his strength is vertical coverage, and that suggests he should be a Mike. Now, the problem is Mike should be arguably your best defender on the field, and if that's going to be the case, he's got to be a gap destroyer. We've talked about this a whole lot. Let me hit it real quick. 4-3 linebackers. This is in Pete Carroll's system here. Why it's pulling up. Here we go. So, Mike linebacker, middle linebacker, captain of the unit, and gap destroyer against the run. Key read defender, both pre-snap and at the heart of zone coverages, okay? He's got the heart of zone coverages vertically down. The problem is he's kind of late to the party on the hook zones, right? The curls, the underneath stuff, it takes him a little longer to read and react. Maybe he would be better playing Will or Sam. I think it'd be worth a shot. Now, if Edgerrin Cooper can get a hold of this playbook, maybe he would be the better Mike, right? He's got the athleticism to cover vertically. We know that. We've seen that on tape. My guy, he's a demon, man. But again, I don't know. It feels like we don't have our Mike on this roster. I hate to say that, but that's what it feels like. I got the autographed Quay Walker jersey right over here on the wall. I got an autographed helmet. Dude's a physical freak. It hasn't worked out so far. So let's see here. Coach Lynn, appreciate that, Coach. Hey, that means a lot coming from you, Coach. Because Clayton is a hustler. I'm a dumb redneck that's got too much time on my hands watching tapes. All that is. If it's embarrassing to admit how much tape I've watched. If I don't get at least this much of it, I shouldn't even be talking ball because that's embarrassing. Chris, thank you for sharing. Clayton got us absolutely good. Amen. Oh, you talking about that's tough times, man. You're right. He is all the time. Coach Lynn, do we know have 4-3 edge players? I think he's saying, do we not have 4-3 edge players on the Packers that might lead to some of our struggles? It could be, Coach. I kind of feel like who we've got. I say that. It's funny. I say, I feel like Gary and Preston can play 4-3 edge. But then you look back, this is the first time Preston Smith's ever played in a 4-3, right? So there you go with that. Gary was drafted out of college. He was an interior defensive lineman that we converted to outside linebacker, and now we're converting him to defensive end, which essentially is the same thing, but you're going to a 3-point stance the majority of the time. So I don't know, Coach. I don't know how to answer it, man. I feel like LVM would be better suited on the interior in a 4-3, kind of that interior rusher, because his big thing is the bull rush, right? Push in the pocket. I don't feel like you're necessarily putting him on the edge. You're playing to his strength, but at the same time, first-round pick, all that physical ability, you think he would be able to adjust, right? Or should be able to adjust anyway. Eric Sutherland says, I'm not down on the pass rush. I'm down on now. Oh, my God. I should have known it. God almighty. I apologize. Eric, this is why we can't have nice things, sir. I trusted you, and you let me down. And when I fly solo, I know Eric Sutherland's comments cannot go on the screen. But we appreciate you watching, buddy. That whole FEMA thing's sensitive for me right now. I will say that, man. I'm not saying I agree with that whole comment, but man, it's just wild out here. I'm 20 minutes from everything you guys are seeing on the news with the crazy flooding. We had 3 bridges collapse. At one point, there was 1,000 people missing. I mean, we got people volunteering to go help, and they're being turned away. Oh, we got this. It's like, oh, you got this? Yeah, my cousin has been missing for 3 days now, but you got this? I'm not allowed to go up there and look for him. You know what I mean? That type, not my cousin. I'm just speaking in general. Like, whew. But anyway, J. Cole, we need more dogs on defense. I don't know what that means, Jay. Does that mean Georgia Bulldogs? So I feel like we got enough. We need guys that are you gotta pull away from the physical attributes just a touch and maybe lean a little more into the tape. Now I guarantee you Goody and his staff will tell you they're more focused on people who look good on tape, rather than what they can do in their underwear at the combine. But their first round draft histories suggest, something else. So I guess I got to give it to you. Only you, Larry, can you get a special request for a soundbite, man. He says, ramble, rumble, bumble, stumble on Clayton. There you go. Let's hit it real quick. Where you at here? Where's my John Madden drop? I know I got you in here somewhere. They better not have deleted it.
Yeah, he not only rambled, but he rumbled and stumbled.
There you go. Rest in peace, John Madden, the greatest commentator of our generation, no doubt about it, man. All right, I think we're good. Shoo, Lee, Coach, you're going to get me emotional, bro. We let our mic go and Christian Welch. Man, I will never understand that. That dude did everything possible to make this right. There's nothing he could have done different to qualify to make the roster. That is just wild that he didn't make the roster. Man, oh, my gosh, man. All right. Matrix Jackson, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you swinging through. He says, I like your perspective on Green Bay. You actually watch the film and give regular guys like me great insight. Keep up the content. Thank you for the kind words, buddy. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Hey, fam, we're all cousins, Clayton. Is that a Kentucky joke? You taking a shot at me for being from Kentucky? All right. I think that's it, guys. Appreciate everybody hanging out. This was a lot of fun. We got to break down some tape. That was a little test run. That was awesome. We're going to do that more often. When we got a topic we're covering, a specific player or position group, we may go to the tape a little bit more. Like right now, I could key up all of Rashawn Gary's snaps, and we could just watch it and kind of grade it as we go. But obviously, we don't have enough time for that, and it makes for bad podcasting. So with that being said, we're going to get out of here. I want to give a special shout-out. Everybody in the chat, you guys were awesome. Makes it a lot easier when I'm flying solo that you guys are in here, kind of keep the conversation going too. Shout out to Jay becoming a new member of the YouTube page here. Appreciate you, buddy. Josh Vallanningham gifting 5 Packer Fan Total Access memberships. to 5 lucky fans. They will be entered into the contest as we're going to spin the pinky wheel after the game this week, and we're going to be giving away an awesome piece of memorabilia. I'm so excited about it. I got an extra one that Trevor sent me that I'm going to keep. It's really cool, but it's a picture of Mark Murphy that's autographed by Mark Murphy, and he actually autographed it. Something that sounds a lot like this right here. Where's it at?
65%.
65%. That's what we.
So just absolutely awesome that he got that autograph, man. What a cool piece of memorabilia. That's what we're going to be giving away. So if you're a YouTube member here on the channel, okay, not a subscriber, but a member, or you're a member of our Patreon group, you can scan that QR code in the upper right. We take all of those members, both on YouTube and in Patreon, and we put them on a wheel with Larry McCarron's pinky on it. We spin that sucker at the post-game show, and whoever it lands on, that's who's going to win the autograph picture by Mark Murphy that's autographed 65%. I need to get you guys a picture. I'm going to get a picture of it and post it on here so y'all can see it on tomorrow morning's show. It's really, really cool. But obviously, shout out to Chet who reached out. Chet won the autographed Antonio Freeman jersey. So that was our latest giveaway. It's just a way for us to give back to y'all for supporting the channel. We really appreciate you. So that being said, guys, sorry for rambling. We're out of here. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack Go.